Kṛṣṇa, Hari Hari, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hari Hari, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hari Hari, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. Controlling the mind. There's a lot going on. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot going on. There are a lot of factors, a lot of forces, a lot of energies. Existing is very dynamic. So the mind, like, connected to the senses and gets pulled around by the senses. But there's more going on than just that for controlling the mind. Because there's threefold disturbances in the material energy. Threefold disturbances. There's disturbances caused by one's own mind and senses. There's disturbances caused by the demigods in the form of natural events like hurricanes, tornadoes, sinkholes, flooding, and there are disturbances caused by other living entities. And those other living entities, sometimes they can be subtle entities, like ghosts and other demoniac beings on another level. And in the age, this Kali age, they're very active on the Earth planet because everything is so disorganized and unstable. And they're very active. And so for controlling the mind, you're dealing with other living entities also. Not just, I have to control my senses. No, you're dealing with other living entities too. Some people are more vulnerable to being bothered by them. They're on the subtle plane. They're not imaginary. They're living entities in another, on a subtle, that exist in subtle form. So the mind is a subtle energy. So there you go. So I was wondering, I have a friend who's always dealing with what they think is psychiatric disturbance. Like maybe there's something wrong with their mind or their brain or something. Which could be sometimes deficiencies or structural problems. But to rule out being disturbed by subtle beings is to miss something that could very well be the problem, or at least part of the problem that people deal with. In other words, it's not just like cut and dry material action and reaction. Like if I don't control my senses, then my mind. Well, there may be other factors in it. There may be subtle entities. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare. the Christians are aware of some of those problems when they do their exorcisms or calling them out. At least in the old times, I'm sure there are some cultures, Christian cultures, that are still trying to do these things. Hare Krishna in an active way. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And you look at it from the Vaishnava perspective, it makes sense that if some demon is cast out, that you can't just leave an empty space there. You have to fill it with Kṛṣṇa. Because the teachings of Jesus is, if you cast the demon out and you don't fill it with love of God and God consciousness, then he comes back and he brings friends with him. So then you got a whole crowd to deal with. So it's not just a matter of ousting the malevolent force, the malevolent entity who is causing some problems, but to fill it with Kṛṣṇa, devotional service, consciousness. So okay, you got rid of the demon. Now what do? We have to fill it with Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Because I'm looking at, sometimes I'm with devotees and they seem very disturbed and their minds are all over the place and they're dealing with so many things. And this morning I was just considering they may be being bothered by a malevolent entity. I mean, it's possible. But they think it's them. No, I have, maybe I have to have medication, or maybe there's, well, there may be an entity bothering them. It's like going through life with a bee in your bonnet. The only thing you can do is get the bee out of there. Get rid of the bee. You don't need a bee in your bonnet. Hare Krishna. So there's just one thing I was looking at, which may be what I'm sensing when I'm coming in contact with some of the devotees who, it's like they have a bee in their bonnet. And I'm thinking, what are they? Some psychiatric problem, or what is it? It may be an entity. If it's an entity, the devotee's bothered like that, part of the solution is to recognize that it may be an entity. And then the real solution can begin, because they have to go. You got to get out. Get out. Get out, get out, get out. Krishna, like you said, it's like having a bee in the bonnet. No matter how much you're chanting, how much you're trying, you've got a bee in your bonnet. You get the bee out of your bonnet. And part of it is to recognize that you may have a bee in your bonnet. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. And part of what can happen is if you hang around somebody who's like that, they've got an entity, that entity might try to bother you. Or go call some friends, hey, why don't you get on this one? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and then you get a bee in your bonnet. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. No bees in the bonnet, thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shingadev. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. You don't want to come in too close to someone who has a bee in their bonnet because it might sting you. Because that bee doesn't want to leave. He's got a home, you know. He's not gonna want to go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Actually, I can see it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Well, what's Krishna good at doing? Krishna is very good at getting rid of demons. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It was great sport when he manifested Vraj Leela on this planet. He got rid of Bakashura, Agashura, Putana, Ritrashura. There's quite a few. And then the biggie, Kamsa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then he went on to, those guys were all on like a spiritual level. Then he went on to actually remove the demonic leaders that you could actually see walking around. Those were like spiritual forms. But then he went on in his pastimes in Mathura and Dvārakā to remove the demonic forces, kings, ruling kings. And Krishna does a lot of things on a lot of levels. Hare Krishna, Hare, and he's been let loose on the planet now. His holy name. Hare Krishna, he's not different from his holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The name of God is all powerful. What's so unusual about the name Krishna is that he's appearing as an ordinary human being. He was born, he had pastimes as a youth, a child, a youth, and then as an adult, a young adult. Hare Krishna, say ordinary, but his activities are not at all ordinary, extraordinary. And you can see that in Krishna's representative, his activities were also extraordinary, like Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. His activities were extraordinary. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna. So the way to Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The way to Krishna consciousness is through the chanting of the holy name. And the holy names, Mahamantra especially, has been given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's invested all his potencies in the holy name alone. And now we also have the scriptures. Everything is nothing new. There's nothing new with Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. It's not new. It's very old. Bhagavad Gita, very old. It was spoken at the beginning, creation of the universe. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Vivaswan. But these things get lost. You get lost. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. At one time, these scriptures, these transcendental messages of Godhead, which are actually not different from Godhead. Hey, Sugata, Hare Krishna. I'm just on a roll here. I had some realizations about subtle living entities and how they can bother devotees, and the devotees don't know that that's what's. They think they're just having trouble controlling their mind. But actually, it's a good possibility that there are some subtle living entities that are giving them some problem. And they think it's them, but it's subtle entities. So, Krishna, I have some friends like that, and I'm like, what's wrong with them? It's like they always have a bee in their bonnet, It's like, it's not just like some psychological or psychiatric chemical thing. There's other living entities on the subtle plane. Hare Krishna. So I was just appreciating, what we have and how it's not new. It's not like, our spiritual master invented something, but it's being access is being reopened to the Vedic scriptures. They've been covered, they've been lost. And now they're being cleaned up and presented. Things get lost sometimes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Madhavendra Puri, Lord Chaitanya built his whole movement on the mood of Madhavendra Puri. His pastimes, Madhavendra Puri's pastimes, are so incredible, beautiful, wonderful, simple and profound pastimes in loving relationship with the Lord. So he had a dream. He was resting and he had a dream. And the deity came to him and said, Madhavendra Puri, please rescue me. I'm buried deep in the forest. When there was an attack by Muslims army attacked, my pujari became very fearful, and he took me out of the temple and hid me in the forest. And I've been here for so long now. Please, you come and get me. Take me out of the jungle and reestablish my worship. So he told the townspeople, look, I've had this dream. Let's get our machetes. I know where the Lord told me where he is, his deity is. Let's go get him. And sure enough, deep in the jungle, there was no path there. No one had been there in years and years and years. It was all overgrown. They had to cut their way through. How would Madhavendra Puri know there was a deity there? How would he know? Krishna. Krishna spoke to him in that dream. And sure enough, they cut their way through the jungle, and there was the deity. Boy, I can't remember the deity's name. Stupid me, I can't remember. But the deity has a name. And they established the deity on the hill. I want to read that pastime. Oh, yeah. They established the deity on a hill. I think it was Govardhan Hill. And the word of this miraculous event spread far and wide. And people were coming, devotees were coming from everywhere, all the surrounding villages, from miles and miles and miles away. The word was spreading that this had occurred. And they all wanted to offer worship to this deity. And they would bring preparations, yogurt, rice, sweetmeats, whatever they had, they were bringing. And they were having, day after day after day, they were having a feast. Because now this form of worship had been reestablished, it had been lost. That was Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri's disciple, Ishwar Puri. And Ishwar Puri's disciple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whoa, didn't they just give you like, woo, yeah. Isn't that what's going on? This is Madhavendra Puri. His blessings on the whole world. Just see how powerfully Kṛṣṇa is influenced by the love of a pure devotee. Madhavendra Puri's love was pure. He loved Kṛṣṇa. Just see how far it goes. So, in that same pure devotion, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has uncovered all the scriptures. And they're spreading far and wide all over the world. This is the summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Whoa. Hare Krishna. And let's see. I was reading in Kṛṣṇa Erects the Dvārakā fort. So, Kamsa's been killed, but it happens that his two wives are now widows, and they were the daughters of Jarasandha. Jarasandha is one of the demoniac kings, and he's not at all happy about Kṛṣṇa killing the husband of his daughters. He's not happy about that at all. He's actually related to Kṛṣṇa. I forget how it is. It's kind of a distant relationship, but these are all the royal families, and they're all interrelated through marriage, and so I forget exactly how he's related, but he's a distant relative of Kṛṣṇa. But he's decided to kill Kṛṣṇa. And he attacked the Mathura. And Kṛṣṇa, it was a great miracle how he did it. Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they had a very small military force. Jarasandha had a military force as vast as the ocean, thousands and thousands of elephants and horses and chariots. And they came to besiege the city of Mathura. And Kṛṣṇa just had a small army. He didn't have much to deal with. But of course, he looks like an ordinary person, but there's nothing, where he's God, there's nothing ordinary about Kṛṣṇa. And Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they completely destroyed the entire army of Jarasandha. Completely destroyed it. And no one in Kṛṣṇa and Balaram's army was lost. He said they destroyed it. It was like a river of blood with all the severed heads and arms and all the dead horses and elephants and everything floating in this river. God can do stuff like that. It's just what's far out about it is that he's not coming out of the cloud like a giant, whatever. He's just, Kṛṣṇa. It's just like this, kind of like ordinary Kshatriya, but not ordinary Kshatriya. So Jarasandha decided he was going to go to the forest and just eat nuts and berries. He wasn't going to be a king anymore. He was done. It was over. He was so ashamed that he had been captured and then released by Kṛṣṇa. He was furious. But his counselors and advisors, like a fighter who lost a round, and he's sitting in his corner, and all his supporters are there, pepping him up, talking to him about, you got to get back in the ring. So he decided that he would go again. So he got a military force again, and Jarasandha, the king of Magadha, not only besieged the city of Mathura once, but he attacked it 17 times in the same way, equipped with the same number of military phalanxes. Each and every time he was defeated and all his soldiers were killed by Kṛṣṇa, and each time he had to return disappointed in the same way. Each time the princely order of the Yadu dynasty arrested Jarasandha in the same way, and again released him in an insulting manner, and each time Jarasandha shamelessly returned home. So I think Albert Einstein, didn't he say to expect a different result, but to perform the same action and then expect a different result is insanity. To keep doing something in the same way and getting the same result is actually insanity. 17 times, same thing. While Jarasandha was attempting one such attack, a Yavana king somewhere to the south of Mathura became attracted by the opulence of the Yadu dynasty and also attacked the city. So it's Mathura. Kṛṣṇa hasn't built Dvārakā yet. These attacks are taking place in Mathura. Okay. It is said that the king of the Yavanas, known as Kali Yavana, was induced to attack by Narada. Narada, he's always escalating things. He's like a catalyst. He knows past, present, and future, and he knows what Kṛṣṇa wants to accomplish. And so he goes in and he instigates to get it going. So he induced Kali Yavana to attack. This story is narrated in the Vishnu Purana. Once Gargamuni, the priest of the Yadu dynasty, was taunted by his brother-in-law. When the kings of the Yadu dynasty heard the taunt, they laughed at him. So the priest is being laughed at. And Gargamuni became angry at the Yadu kings. So Gargamuni was the priest. He decided that he would produce someone who was very fearful to the Yadu dynasty. So he pleased Lord Shiva and received from him the benediction of a son. He begot this son, Kali Yavana, in the wife of a Yavana king. This Kali Yavana inquired from Narada, who are the most powerful kings in the world? Narada informed him that the Yadus were the most powerful kings, and being thus informed by Narada, Kali Yavana attacked the city of Mathura at the same time that Jarasandha attempted to attack it for the 18th time. Kali Yavana was very anxious to declare war on a king of the world who would be a suitable combatant for him, but he had not found any. Boy, they just like to fight, don't they? Who was it? Banasura. I don't have anybody to fight with. I want to fight, but I'm too powerful. No one will fight with me. So here we go. Kali Yavana couldn't find anybody either. However, being informed about Mathura by Narada, he thought a wise city to attack. When he attacked Mathura, he brought with him 30 million Yavana soldiers. 30 million. When Mathura was thus besieged, Lord Sri Krishna began to consider how much the Yadu dynasty was in distress, being threatened by the attacks of two formidable enemies, Jarasandha and Yavana. Boy, 30 million, how do you feed that army? My goodness. They can't stay camped in one place very long, I wouldn't think. Time was growing very short. Kaliyavana was already besieging Mathura from all sides, and it was expected that the next day Jarasandha would also come, equipped with the same number of divisions of soldiers as in his previous 17 attempts. Krishna was certain that Jarasandha would take advantage of the opportunity to capture Mathura when it was also being besieged by Kaliyavana. He therefore thought it wise to take precautionary measures to defend the strategic points of Mathura. If both Krishna and Balaram were engaged in fighting with Kaliyavana at one place, Jarasandha might come at another place to attack the whole Yadu family and take his revenge. Jarasandha was very powerful, and having been defeated 17 times, he might vengefully kill the members of the Yadu dynasty, or arrest them and take them to his kingdom. Krishna therefore decided to construct a formidable fort in a place where no two-legged animal, either man or demon, could enter. He decided to keep his relatives there so that he would be free to fight with the enemy. It appears that formerly Dvārakā was also part of the kingdom of Mathura, because in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that Krishna constructed a fort in the midst of the sea. Remnants of the fort which Krishna constructed are still existing in the Bay of Dvārakā. So they look at an island in the middle of the sea or something. But now, when you look at the time frame here, it's really extraordinary, because Jarasandha, Kaliyavana, was already attacking Mathura. And very soon Jarasandha was headed that way. So in the middle of all of that, he first of all constructed a very strong wall covering 96 square miles, and the wall itself was within the sea. It was certainly wonderful and was planned and constructed by Vishwakarma. No ordinary architect could construct such a fort within the sea, but an architect like Vishwakarma, who is considered to be the engineer among the demigods, can execute such wonderful craftsmanship anywhere in any part of the world. If huge planets can be floated in weightlessness in the outer space by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surely the architectural construction of a fort within the sea, covering a space of 96 square miles, was not a very wonderful act. Like building the bridge to Lanka from Ceylon. The rocks floated, giant stones and mountaintops. They were floating to make the bridge to Lanka. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that this new, well-constructed city, developed within the sea, had regular planned roads, streets, and lanes. Not only were there well-planned roads, trees, and lanes, but there were well-planned paths and gardens filled with plants known as kalpavrikshas, or desire trees. These desire trees are not like the ordinary trees of the material world. The desire trees are found in the spiritual world. By Krishna's supreme will, everything is possible. So, such desire trees were planted in this city of Dvārakā, constructed by Kṛṣṇa. The city was also filled with many palaces and gopuras, or big gates. These gopuras are still found in some of the larger temples. They're very high and constructed with extreme artistic skill. Such places and gates held golden water pots, kalasa. These water pots on the gates or in the palaces are considered to be auspicious signs. The bedrooms were all bedecked with jewels, and the floors were mosaic pavements of Marakata jewels. The Vishnu deity worshipped by the descendant of Yadu was installed in each house in the city. The residential quarters were so arranged that the different castes, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, had their respective quarters. It appears from this that the caste system was existing even at that time. In the center of the city there was another residential quarter made specifically for King Ugrasena, whose place was the most dazzling of all the houses. So the different neighborhoods had the different, according to the different qualities, there were different neighborhoods. The Kshatriyas lived in one neighborhood, the Vaishyas in another, the Sudras had their quarters. Hare Krishna. When the demigods saw that Kṛṣṇa was constructing a particular city of his own choice, they sent the celebrated Parijata flower of the heavenly planet to be planted in the new city. They also sent a parliamentary house, Sudharma. The specific qualities of this assembly house was that anyone participating in a meeting within it would overcome the influence of invalidity due to old age. The demigod Varuna was presented a horse. The demigod Varuna also presented a horse, which was all white except for black ears, which could run at the speed of the mind. Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, presented the art of attaining the 8 perfectional stages of material opulences. In this way, all the demigods began to present their respective gifts according to their different capacities. There are 33 million demigods, and each of them is entrusted with a particular department of universal management. All the demigods took the opportunity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's constructing a city of his own choice to present their respective gifts, making the city of Mathura unique within the universe. Yeah, that goes on when a city is dedicated or established in different governments and different countries. They'll make presentations. The Statue of Liberty was given by France. They gave that as a gift to the city of New York in the United States, the Statue of Liberty. I like that. This proves that there are undoubtedly innumerable demigods, but none of them are independent of Kṛṣṇa. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Master, and all others are servants. So all the servants took the opportunity of rendering service to Kṛṣṇa when he was personally present within this universe. This example should be followed by all, especially those who are Kṛṣṇa conscious, for they should serve Kṛṣṇa by their respective abilities. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Kṛṣṇa, I read this so many times, but every time is so wonderful. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta.